Recording in progress.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and start the city council meeting for March 18th, 2026. Time is 6 o'clock. We'll start this meeting with prayer. Council member Moss will lead us in that.
Dear and kind Father in heaven, we are so very grateful for this time that we can come together as a city council and citizens and staff, and we pray for thy blessings to be upon us and thy inspiration to inspire us and what thou wouldst have us do, and help us to continue to be good stewards of our city, and to keep it safe and good. And we love thee, Father, with all of our hearts, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. We'll be led by the pledge by Council Smith. Lacey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lacey. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and do the consent agenda. C, on number 1, approval of the March 4th, 2026 City Council minutes. Number 2, confirmation of the monthly financial information. Council, if there's no further discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Lacey.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
And Ann.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Going on to D, petitions. Chamber Business Employee or Community Service Board. Josh. Come on up, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, our monthly award goes to, let me pull up my notes here, to Katie Higley and the Heart Collective. So a little bit about Katie and the Heart Collective. Located in historic downtown Payson, the Heart Collective is a creative arts school founded in 2025 by Katie D. Higley to provide a safe, vibrant space where children, teens, and adults can grow through creative expression. Inspired by a lifelong love of the arts and a desire to create more non-traditional creative learning opportunities in the community, Katie opened the Heart Collective to offer an art-centered, heart-centered environment where creativity, collaboration, and confidence can thrive. The studio offers classes and workshops, camps, and performances in music, art, theater, and creative expression, including ukulele, guitar, voice, choir, musical theater, pottery, woodworking, watercolor, and more. In just its first year, the Heart Collective has served over 600 students, including more than 300 through free community summer programs, while also welcoming hundreds more through semester classes, camps, and creative workshops. The studio hosted 5 performances and student showcases, giving students meaningful opportunities to share their talents and celebrate their growth. Beyond the classroom, the Heart Collective is deeply committed to supporting the community through the arts. Earlier last year, the organization helped support a community benefit concert for the Suter family, bringing artists, local businesses, and neighbors together and raising $65,550 in support. The Heart Collective is honored to serve the Payson community and looks forward to continuing to inspire creativity, build confidence, and bring people together through the arts. We also have, because this is a voted on, this isn't just something we pick, this is a community award. Here's some of the different insights from some of the people commenting on the voting about the Heart Collective. They are so sweet and genuinely kind people. Another person said, the Heart Collective is incredible and the owners are such a gift to the community. They have my vote all the way. And a third person said, my son has really loved being involved in all of the art classes they have here. So on behalf of the Payson-Santaquin Chamber of Commerce, we are pleased to give this month's Business of the Month award to Katie and the Heart Collective.
Katie, would you like to say anything to us? Go over to the speaker if you would, please.
Um, Thank you all. It's been an incredible journey, and I'm very, very grateful to this amazing community who comes together to help each other. So, thank you to everyone who voted and who has come and participated and helped everyone in our community. I love being here, and we love serving everyone. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Get a picture, Mayor.
Yeah, would you like to get a picture? Come on up with the council. Let's get a picture.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. No.
Okay, moving on, number two, we'll go ahead and council I-15 and interchange update. We have no report today. And that will make us move to number three, the public forum. Anyone can speak in the public forum, and please try to limit your time to about 3 minutes or so. Anybody would like to address in the public forum? Isaac, come on up, Isaac.
No, go for it. You're all good.
Thank you. My name is Isaac Paxman. It's good to see you, Mayor Wright. I've been here before a couple months ago to sit down for about an hour and visit with Mayor Wright, and that was a privilege. I'm running for Utah County Commission and just wanted to take a chance to come and introduce myself. The roots are here. We moved, the family came in the 1850s to South County, actually, more Spanish Fork, although somewhere in Nephi, further south. But the family's been in the area for 7 generations, on the 7th generation. Last 8 years serving in local government, and was able to be a part of really connecting with a lot of the mayors and other people in the county, doing some big projects, getting some good things done. The Provo Airport was my assignment to raise money for that. And I think it's been a help to the members of the community and to the economy. And that ended, and I'm now at the Attorney General's office as an Assistant Attorney General, but had people ask me to run for County Commissioner, including Commissioner Gordon, who asked me to run for his seat, said, I'd prefer not to run if I can find someone good. Would you please run? And I was honored after a lot of thought to go ahead and do this. So I'm doing it. One of the concerns some people have raised is, can someone like you in Provo represent South County? The best way I can respond to that, I think, is not with my own words, but with others. Again, Commissioner Gordon from Spanish Fork asked me to do this. And here's the mayor of Goshen, Stephen Staley. Isaac Paxman has been an invaluable ally to our regional interests. He doesn't just focus on the big cities. He works hard to ensure smaller communities stay on top of critical local issues. His approach is thoughtful, collaborative, and rooted in a genuine desire to help. I believe in him for county leadership because I know he will act with both skill and sincerity. I'm honored to have such words said about me. I'm honored to be here. Appreciate the people of Payson. If anybody wants me to know anything that Payson needs to know in coming months or years, my cell phone number, 801-921-0428. Thank you.
Isaac, thank you. It's been my pleasure to work with Isaac for the last 8 years, and it's been very, very a good working relationship. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, good. Thanks.
I'm back again. Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Adri Rogers. I am your Miss Payson 2025. I'm going to try not to cry through this because I'm here to give you guys, invite you all to come to the Miss Payson pageant happening here on Saturday. It's at Payson High School, and I have tickets for each one of you guys. And for the council members who are not here, I've had the absolute privilege of working with all of you, and I've learned so much from all of you. Even just through this little year that I've had, which is so crazy to think about. Ugh, guys, I'm so sorry, I'm just crying. But especially thank you, Mayor Wright, for just being there for me. You guys have no idea how supportive you guys are with the Miss Payson pageant and the scholarship that you guys are providing to these young women who are just trying to serve their community. I remember my first thought when they put the crown on my head was, I can't wait to serve the place that I love so much. And I'm so honored that I've had that opportunity to do so. Um, so thank you just so much. And I really hope to see each one of you guys there with your family at the pageant here on Saturday. And if you know of anyone else, please invite them to come. We have a wonderful young woman who are just absolutely incredible. And I am just so honored to be able to pass this title on to someone else who is ready to serve with their whole heart, mind, and strength. Thank you.
Adri, thank you for representing us. You've done a wonderful job. It's been a pleasure to work along with you in that effort. Okay, thank
Can
you.
I give these to you?
You bet. Come on up.
Okay, I was saying, I don't know if I have permission.
Thanks, Adri. We'll miss you.
Oh, I'll miss you
Thank
guys
you.
too. Don't worry, I've been crying about it all week. But no one needs to see that.
Okay, Adri, thank you.
Thanks, Adri.
Okay, any other like to come and address us? Anybody online? Emily? Nope. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public forum at this time, and we'll open it up, number 4, to staff reports. Any staff would like to address the council?
I'll go quick.
Okay.
Mayor and council, I just wanted to let you know that we were invited because we were newly introduced and adopted an inland port in our community. Yesterday there was an inaugural Congress of Inland Ports. Basically, everybody that's involved in inland ports from all across the state met together yesterday up in Salt Lake at their headquarters at the World Trade Center, Utah. Just to kind of go over the different options and the different opportunities for that. It was really great. I really appreciated Jill and Melanie going with me to that event. We were able to kind of divide and conquer and go to some different classes and things like that. There are a lot of opportunities that we need to explore. And so probably in the coming months, we'll come back to you just to get some direction on how we should proceed with this and developing a plan, developing what we want the inland port in our community to accomplish. And we'll get back with you with some additional information and get some feedback from you. But just wanted to let you know that that was happening. Also today, I attended at the Herbert Policy Institute at UVU. There was a legislative wrap-up hosted by former Representative Moss, and then Val Peterson, I always mess up her name. Senator Cullimore and Representative Percarino, I can't remember her name. Anyway, it was really good to get their perspective on the accomplishments that they feel were part of this legislative session. They focused a lot on education, the bills that were passed for that, the budget. They passed a $31.6 billion budget, which actually came out to be much more than they had planned, and they were able to find an extra $500 million in spite of the fact that the great big beautiful bill reduced our one-time funding by 300 million and 200 million ongoing. So that was pretty good, and they passed a tax cut impressively. So anyway, I just wanted to pass that on. I think that we'll be providing our own wrap up to you all, let you know there was a lot that went on in this session. So we want to update you and how that affects our community in the coming weeks. But just want to let you know about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Any other staff?
So mayor and councils, the mayor, Dave, Brandon, Cameron, and I just got back from the water users conference.
Literally just barely me.
It was really good news. We have a lot of snow up there. No. The positives were that obviously where we've got more rain than snow, the groundwater like the water in the ground is actually up. And what snow there is has a higher snow water equivalent because it's all melting really quick. But you cannot find any snow under about 10,000 feet. So our snow tail site has 0 snow left at it. And we have broken multiple records all over the state of being the lowest we've ever been in the records that they've done. So it wasn't very good news, but we didn't really expect it to be. So just thought I'd give you a quick update on that.
And where was the conference?
In St. George. So yeah, and it was hot. It was already in the 90s down there. So
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Thank you, Travis. Anders, come on up.
Good evening, council members. I just wanted to give you an update on 2 projects we've been working on. So Councilman Hewlett applied for a grant in behalf of the city with the Department of Natural Resources. The grant is a outdoor recreation planning assistance grant, and that grant was awarded to the city of Payson. And so the city plans to use that grant to develop an outdoor recreation plan that would be focused on a few key assets that are in and around Payson, and kind of really tie them in together and to the Home to Adventure brand that the city has. So those are the Mount Nebo Scenic Byway, the Forebay, the golf course, the West Mountain Recreation Area, the Spring Lake property, and then identifying a location for a regional park, and then trail connectivity throughout the city for those different areas. So we're really excited to kind of get started on implementing that, using that grant funding to create that plan. The city posted a request for statement of qualifications and received 6 different statements from prospective firms, and then we went through a evaluation process and selected the SC Group as our consultant for that plan. And so we're just kind of in the beginning stages of working with them and giving them the information that they need. But we anticipate that we'll be working with the council soon to get your feedback on your goals for those different areas and for this plan. So look out for that in the near future. But we will definitely be providing updates as we kind of continue with the process.
And Anders, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, but I have been able to talk to the coach of the rodeo team at UVU. They're very much interested in working with us on that as well. And they were wondering about the county. I've talked with the Commissioner Gordon and got a good dialogue going with them as well. So it may be a 3-pronged event to try and see what we can do.
Yeah. So for those of you that aren't familiar with that, so that's another grant that was successful that the city has that is going to be used for creating a equestrian and indoor rodeo feasibility study, and we're just in the process of we've posted a request for statements of qualifications for that, and so we're looking forward to seeing what response we get for that. And then
sorry, I thought that's what you're talking about. My mistake, but yeah, I think we have a cooperative 2 different entities that would like to cooperate.
Okay,
at least on a basic level, see where it goes.
Yeah. So we're excited to see where that goes as well. And then another project. So we've been working with each of you on our Payson Downtown Gateway Plan, which kind of focuses on the historic downtown area, the Main Street corridor up to the Main Street I-15 interchange. Working on making some changes to that in order to get that, to present that to you hopefully next month, with those changes we've made. But part of that plan was put together, it identified some key, what they call trigger sites that are really kind of important properties to really make the plan successful especially in the downtown area. And so the city actually submitted a grant application to help implement that plan, focusing on 2 properties. One of those is, I think it's the city-owned building on 40 South Main Street. And then another is the vacant lot that's on 200 North and Main Street. It's a church property that's now vacant. But hoping to get some more kind of a concept plan for site planning and architecture planning for those areas to help them, I guess, kind of implement the plan and make them, I guess, get them to a way that would help support the gateway plan, and be in line with kind of the goals for that area. So we just found out a few hours ago that was successful, so we were awarded that grant. So we're looking forward to starting that process too. So if you have any questions about kind of the goals for that plan or any of the other projects, feel free to reach out to me or Jill. And yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Anders. Any other staff? Not seeing anyone that is forthcoming. We'll move on to council reports. Before we do that, I would like to excuse Council Provostgard and Council Hewlett. Council Hewlett has just got home from a trip that required him for 30 hours to travel, so he's not here because of that. And Council Provostgard is on a family outing as well, so just wanted to mention that. Moving on to council reports. Council Ann.
Council Ann.
Moss.
I wish Adri would have stayed because I just wanted to say. I just wanted to say that Adri was so good to work with and just such a sweetheart. And she was at every single event that you could even think of. And she was such a dedicated Miss Payson. So I'm sorry to see her go, but I know that's the deal. Also, I had the opportunity to attend the library feasibility study public open house, and it was so well attended. They counted a little over 700 people showed up just coming through. Might have been the pizza. No. But they had Blaylock there with all the plans and options and the dots that you put on everything. And it was really neat to see the community support. And so I'm excited to see the analysis of the information that they gathered. And I'm glad that there were so many people there. They could see how small our library is, that we need a little bit bigger. We'll see what we can do. There are no promises, obviously, but it was a great event. Lots of stuff happening. The loudest that library has ever been, probably. But it was wonderful. And as usual, thanks to all the staff. And you guys are amazing to work with as well. And that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Councilor Rowley.
Thank you, Mayor and resident staff. It's good to be with you tonight. We'll continue to pray for more precipitation in the coming months. Hopefully we have a wet spring. Last week, South Utah Valley Power Systems, which Payson City is part of, did a tour, and Robert and Sean and I went and we looked at some of the projects running through Spanish Fork that do help our transmission and distribution as well here in Payson. And that was good to see the projects coming down the pipeline and what's happening to make our power more secure in the future. I'm also sad that Adri left before we could praise her name. I'm thankful for Council Moss for the words she shared, and I echo those. But I love the passion that she showed here. She got a little choked up, and that's the passion she showed at every event that she was at. She represented Payson very well. And I'm excited for the new young woman that fills those shoes, but they will be big shoes to fill, in fact, because Adri did such a good job. So, Miss Payson, thank you for everything you did to help sell our city and represent our city. The Youth City Council, we went and toured the Spanish Fork Airport yesterday. That was really fun, and saw how that is ran. And man, I wish we had an airport in Payson. That'd be pretty sweet. But good revenue generating source for Spanish Fork City, and they run it really slick. And it was really neat to see that so close to our town. We have that asset to use. I'm thankful to Anders and Jill. Thank you for meeting with us, all the council members, to discuss the Payson Gateway Plan. Thanks for listening to our input, and I'll be so interested to see what you guys can spit out and show us after all of our different opinions and viewpoints, and it'll be good. But really, thank you for the time that you spent with us there. That's important, literally a gateway to our city. And the last thing, on the 4Bay committee, I've been attending those meetings. I'm grateful for Carl and all the members on the 4Bay committee. And we would like to have a field trip for the Lehigh City Council and Mayor down here to 4Bay, just to show them what we've asked them to help us protect. And we would like to do that right around Adventure Days. It won't be on Adventure Days, but a different week. So Dave and Robert, I'm going to email you with the date that the 4Bay committee's asked, and if I could have you reach out to their city manager and see if we can make all the schedules mesh and see if that's a possibility. We'll have them down here for the ribbon cutting of the conservation, and then do a little hike with them possibly. So I'll be in touch with you guys about that. Carl, am I missing anything on that? Okay. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you, residents that are here, and staff as well. Payson is the best place to live, and we'll keep it that way. Thank you.
Lacey.
I also went to the library open house, me and my little boy, and it was very busy. But the whole time he did keep saying how much he loved our library. So it is very loved, but it was great to see the turnout. And then I was hoping maybe Chief Bishop would be here for this, but maybe someone else knows. I know that last night there was a text that went out when there was like a shelter in place, and there was a lot of people reaching out as to how to make sure that they're on.
I have a
Text
little
like
bit of
that?
information on
Okay,
that.
because like I didn't get a text, and so I'm just curious so that I could pass that
They
information
had a
on.
suspect that was from Spanish Fork.
Yeah.
that, they figured that he or she was in that general area.
Yeah, there was just people that were getting the text in other towns, and so people just wanted to know how they could be informed of something like that in the future. So I just didn't know if anyone was aware of that. Yeah.
Please.
So it's part of the Everbridge communication system, which all the cities are part of. The county oversees it, but everybody can go in and sign up for just Payson city notifications. You can sign up for every city's notifications. So for example, if you live in Payson and you work in Lehigh, you can sign up for whatever you want, but you have to go into the system. We have it on our city web page. The county has it on theirs. Every city has it, and it's just a link they click on and they can fill out all the information. Also, the data is pulled from all of our utility accounts. And so sometimes when people move, they're still on there. And so they get those notifications. Even my daughter was on it, and she's in Texas, and she was getting those notifications. So
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's called Everbridge.
Is
Everbridge.
Everbridge.
And it's a countywide program. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I'll let the ones know that had asked, and I was curious too. Thanks. Oh, that was all I needed to know. So I didn't know he was.
I think he texted me saying they only send it out to a certain geographic area, so that's probably why they didn't go to the whole city.
Yeah, so that's good to know though, but we got it answered. Okay, thanks.
It's
That's
getting hard to be a criminal, isn't it?
yeah.
All the cameras.
All the
and
cameras.
text.
And, that's all I have though.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to E, action items, public hearing updating the impact fees, facilities plan, the IFFP, and the impact fee analysis IFA related to drinking water, pressurized irrigation water, and wastewater collection system. Travis, you're up.
So Mayor and Council, I'm just going to introduce Chris Thompson. He's with Hanson Allen and Luce. He prepared all these. So we're doing the wastewater, the pressurized irrigation, and the culinary impact fees. We're updating those. So he'll go over those You can ask him obviously any questions you have, but he'll tell you the difference on what they changed and what they will be changing and all that fun stuff.
So Travis, just to clarify before you sit down though, as I look through the packet as well, these are just impact fees. These are not monthly rates of any kind.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, this is just on new development at building. When you do a building permit is when you pay these.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that clear. Thank you.
Come on up, Chris. Nice to have seen you down at the water conference too.
Yeah. I hope you don't think I'm following you around.
No. That'd be
Uh,
okay if you did.
I feel like Councilman Rowley's question is really good to ask because the general public sees the words fees and going up, and it's causes concern. And so I think it's just very important to explain that this an impact fee is a way that the city council guarantees that the existing residents don't have to pay the cost to bring new residents in. An impact fee makes it so that the new residents pay their fair share to come in and basically buy in to the drinking water system or the pressurized irrigation system or the sewer system. And so that's a very important concept for impact fees. An impact fee is actually something that the general residents of Payson don't want to be wrong or low or too low, because if they are too low, then Payson wouldn't be collecting the amount of money they need to accommodate the new growth coming in. So having impact fees be accurate is a very important thing to protect your existing residents from those costs. And so one of the things that quite a few cities have moved to is updating these impact fees annually. Traditionally in Utah, most cities have been waiting 5 to 7 years to update their impact fees. Well, if you can imagine the inflation that occurs over a 5 to 7 year period, if you're collecting money based upon what facilities, water facilities or sewer facilities cost 5 to 7 years ago, you are definitely not collecting enough. And that will really hurt your budgets as you pay for the growth of your systems as development comes in. And so these three impact fees that are being proposed to the council today are set up so that they can easily be updated every year and basically stay up with inflation so that you'll never get behind on your collections. And it's not often that the lower cost item actually is better quality, but this is the case in this situation because the way that these are set up, the annual cost to update them every year equals approximately what it would cost to update them every 5 to 7 years. But because you're collecting, you're staying up with inflation, you will save so much money in that regard that this is a situation where you're paying less money but getting a much better service and a much more accurate study.
Seems that the Home Builder Association is really would like to have us do it each year as well, right? From what I've been told.
Yes, that's really true. In fact, I get most of my business being referred to from the Home Builder Association, referring cities to me, and the reason is because if you can imagine what happens to an impact fee if you wait 5 to 7 years to update it, they take these new costs that have gone up significantly in these last 5 to 7 years. We've had some incredible inflation 3 and 4 years ago, and then you update, and an impact fee often doubles. And so if you're a developer and you go into a property and you want to develop it into a bunch of lots and you're building some homes, you will always lay out your business plan and you'll calculate what your return on investment will be, and you'll set that up, and developers, like any other company, they have to meet some certain profit goals that their company has. And if all of a sudden overnight, the costs for the impact fees that you pay to a city double, it can destroy your return on investment, and it creates so much hardship for them. And whenever you create that kind of hardship for a developer, they'll push back, and they'll get their attorneys, they'll get the Home Builders Association, they'll come out and they will find out why overnight did it cost twice as much to buy into a water system or a sewer system, when really it was just it was behind in the cost. And so the Home Builders Association is very supportive of this methodology because it's consistent. It makes a lot of sense. It's understandable, and it just goes up with inflation, and that makes sense to people. Doubling in cost overnight doesn't. So any questions about the process of the impact fees? Okay, well, just kind of overview of them. We updated the drinking water impact fee study, and those impact fees went up about $580 per ERC. And ERC is an equivalent residential connection. And basically you boil it down to a single family home that you define, and you say, okay, that's that's the base unit. And if a business comes in with which equals multiples of that single family home, then you'll pay that many multiples of the fee.
When was the last time we did impact fee studies on our impact fees?
I think it was 2023.
Sewer we just updated last year because we added in the treatment plant. The other two, I think they're probably 2 or 3 years old, so they're not very old, but we're going to go to every year, like Chris said, and that'll keep us current, and any new projects will get added in each year.
Yeah.
They're eligible.
But these particular ones that we're looking at tonight, they were done two-ish years ago then? Or
let me look.
I can look on our website and look for sure, but
I know the home
sewer
builders,
just last year.
Right.
The other two are probably 2 or 3 years old.
I know the home builders came to us, this was 2 or 3 years ago, and they asked us, please do them yearly.
okay. Thanks,
And
Travis.
so they are supportive of that.
Great. The next one was the pressurized irrigation impact fee, and that went up about $680 per ERC. And then the sewer one was pretty current. It stayed about the same, but it's now set up in the new system where it's updated every year and will grow with inflation. So a lot of it is quite often when you do engineering studies, there are multiple spreadsheets. An engineer lives for a spreadsheet. I always tell my wife, that's art to me. A good spreadsheet is art. And you have all these spreadsheets, and it collects all this data and processes it, and then it delivers. You sum it up in a report. This is a little bit different. All the data is stored in one big spreadsheet, and it's set up so it can easily be updated annually. And we actually deliver the spreadsheet as one of the deliverables for the project so that you can benefit from all that. You can share it with other engineering firms so that they can use the same data, and you save money and not having to recalculate population estimates or land use information or meters and quantities of sewer use and things like that. So hopefully that data helps you as you make decisions long into the future, and then we just update it every year.
It's my understanding the home builders are privy to this information that we're considering tonight, and they're okay with the information that's being presented to us tonight. Is that right?
Yes. The city administration had directed me to actually go meet with the Home Builders Association. I sat down with them. I went over the fees, and I explained how it came about and some of the reasoning behind it, and they were very positive, appreciative of moving to this methodology.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
If that's all right.
You bet.
So just to review for people who may not know, these impact fees are used to pay for the impact that these new builds have on the city. So when we increase them, the builders and the developers are paying those, correct?
Correct.
Do they pass that on to the home buyers?
Okay, so
Absolutely.
this is a great question.
They do.
Do impact fees raise the cost of housing? Okay, and having been in this world for over 30 years, I have never once seen a developer sell a house for less than market value. And so my experience is they get the cost, and that's great. But whatever the market will bear, whatever they can sell that house for, is what they sell it for. And so impact fees don't affect, in my opinion, the cost of the house, but it does affect the ROI, the return on investment of the house. So whenever the value, what they can sell the house for, is too close to what it costs to build a house, and impact fees do affect that, then that's when you see less development. Okay, and so I think there is an effect there actually, and I feel like that's why quite often you see less single family homes being built and more like townhomes being built, trying to work on that. But there's a lot of factors, and the two biggest really is the cost of land right now is really high, and then the second is lumber and building materials has gone way up. My experience is most impact fees are low behind, but the cost of lumber hasn't gotten behind, or cement. That's what's really hurt the cost of construction.
Okay.
I have a question really quick. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to add so we are required by state law, if we tell a developer to put a 12-inch water line in, but they only needed an 8-inch because it's on our master plan, we have to pay the difference in that 8 to 12-inch material cost. And they demand that as a developer. So, because we have no choice. So if we don't update our impact fees, that's the only way legally we can reimburse a developer out of that. So we have to put those in there to be able to do that. So that's part of the reason too why we have to make sure those projects get in our impact fees.
And I understand that. I just wanted to clarify that and review that that's what happens. Anytime there's an increase in fees, cost of materials, anywhere, the cost is always passed on to the consumer. And the consumers are paying for everything. Taxes, everything. And so, and I know these are important things, but we need to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. From the last time that it was updated to now, what was the average increase you saw every year that it should have raised or did raise? Do you anticipate every year what it's going to go up? I'm a firm believer that we do have to look at this more often than it has been. I've said that for years, but I also don't want to say, yes, every year we're going to do an annual increase and then that percentage isn't quite needed that year. And I guess that's my thing, because you don't want to raise it a certain percent every year and then in 5 years you're sky high and you just keep going, and then no one wants to come and pay those impact fees here anymore.
That's a great question. So the impact fees are not raised based on a CPI type index. They're raised by the actual cost of these projects that Travis is talking about. And so Travis makes a really good point. If your impact fees are low, then the difference in that development project cost still has to be paid. And if you don't collect the impact fees, then user rates will have to pay the difference. And so that's the penalty of failure of not having them. But if construction costs go down, the impact fees would follow, because what this uses is the actual real cost that it took to build that facility, and then it divides it evenly and fairly among all the growth. And so it doesn't actually look at any CPI factors. It just looks at real costs that you end up paying.
And what was it before the 580? Do you like increasing from?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I was just curious what the difference is. I didn't.
The difference is 580, right? We're
So it
increasing.
went up
that.
Oh, it went up 580.
And then the other
I
one's
can-
going up 670.
670 or
Okay. I didn't have that written down, so it was.
No, I can give you the
No,
numbers.
you're good. I can look too, but I was just curious.
So this basically insulates the people in already in Payson that do not have to share the cost of the new homes coming into the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good. So there would only
Right.
be an increase if the difference in the project, the
No,
cost. of
it would be a flat increase. Your impact fee, your permit fee would be that.
Well, okay, so you're
No,
both
there
right.
would only be an
You're
increase
both-
every year if.
Oh, over every year.
So the next year, let's say a development comes in, they build a 12-inch line, like Travis. The real cost of that 12-inch line go into the impact fee. If they're higher than the 12-inch line before, then that bumps it up. But with this methodology, they bump up very incrementally, and it's so good if you are a developer that you can just plan. You can plan on not huge swings in this. It's that roller coaster that a lot of cities have been in this last have created so much impact fee law because it's caused so many problems with developers who have invested so much money planning on this much profit and then it gets eroded by an impact fee study.
So basically, if those costs don't go up, the impact fee does not go up.
Correct. Well, and it's kind of like your sewer impact fee. I feel like did it actually? I know it stayed about the same, but I think it. Let's see. It actually went down $2.59. So because it's all based on the cost, and some of those costs are getting a little bit older that you've done there, and so it's just whatever is right, whatever is fair. So.
But here's my reluctant concern about this, because I do want to get Payson into the realm where growth is paying for growth. That's so important. We don't want the old time residents to subsidize the new ones.
No.
But my concern of every time we look at it, it seems to go up, and those costs are passed on. And we're talking about, I noticed too, the sewer went down, but I don't see on our agenda here to lower the sewer impact fee.
It is. It's proposed to be lowered.
On which line item is that?
If you adopt the IFA, the sewer IFA and IFFP, then you will be adopting a lower fee. So,
Okay.
but it's not much of a lower.
No, it's not much, but yeah, I think the role of government is its base role is to provide services to its residents, and I do want us to cover our costs and grow smart and be smart with the resources we have. But I never want to fall into the rut where sometimes government, we feel like the easy way out is just to raise the fee or raise the tax and never really look at what we can do with what we have. And so I just want to throw out that caution, that reluctant acceptance of what we're looking at tonight, that we can pay for this study every year, and every year it's going to say we need to raise the rates. And the question we really need to ask ourselves is, do we need to raise the rates?
Well,
And
on the Home Builders Association, they're a watchdog there too.
Well, Home Builders Association, yeah, of course they want us to do this every year, but
So yeah, basically, like we talked, if we don't do this, then that it has to come out of all of us that live here. It has to come out of our user rates. So this is all growth driven. So if we get new development, that's why these go up. If we have no growth, we have no development, then this won't change. But if we have
well,
growth,
we're going to have growth and
yeah,
development.
that's
what I'm
why
saying.
we have to do this. If we don't, then it comes out of all of your pockets and everyone that lives here. So we have to pay these costs no matter what. It's just, how do you want to pay them? Do you want developers to pay for them, or do you want our residents to pay for them?
Well, that's the catch-22, Travis. The developers do not pay for it.
Right.
They don't.
They don't.
They
Well,
they
it's-
have
yeah,
a profit
who
margin,
buys
and that's
the- they
okay.
pass the
I run
cost
a
along.
business too, and I'm not gonna not going to work for free and cut my, so yeah, I've looked over all the numbers and I'm just saying, I reluctantly agree with what we're doing, but I want to throw out this caution that I do not want to get the habit in Payson City of every single year we're raising these rates exponentially. I want to get caught up and do small incremental rates like what we're doing. But too, if these get out of control, then it does send developers to other cities too.
Well,
And
like I
that's a
said, this is all growth related. So if somebody wants to develop out, let's say by Teresa Hyatt's, and that's a $15 million project that we put in there, that is going to significantly raise them up because of the cost of that project. So
Right.
if growth happens, it's like side by side, that keeps that cost down. If you leapfrog out in the middle of nowhere, then it's going to raise them up.
Yep.
And I looked it up. We did update the drinking water and the PI 3 years ago.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Council, are there any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and do a motion for public hearing, and then after that, we can have a little more discussion if that generates it.
I'll motion that we open a public hearing.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. We'll open a public hearing. Step to the mic and state your name and address and speak clearly. Try to be cognizant of your time and then of our time and yours. Also, if you agree or disagree with the previous comments, and please state new information and try not to repeat old information. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Not seeing anyone in the room who would like to address us. Is anybody online, Emily? Okay, I'll accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, motion been second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
So I
Okay,
guess-
we'll go on to number 2, ordinance adopting the Payson City drinking water impact fees plan and drinking water impact fees analysis and enacting drinking water impact fees. If there's no discussion on that, I'll entertain a motion.
I guess my discussion, I do want to see what, and I didn't see it in the packet, the total amount for the impact fee now with the additional cost. Does anyone have that information?
While we're waiting for that, can I make a comment?
You bet.
You had mentioned that that's why we're getting more townhomes. That's what I'm worried about because these impact fees really impact in a negative fashion the middle class the most because the lower class gets more incentives and help. The upper class has enough money to pay for these things. The middle class gets stuck. We don't get enough regular single family middle class houses from, and I'm pointing to you guys because you're next. So we're getting too many townhomes. We're getting too many expensive high-end homes, but nothing in between. And so we got to do something that helps the middle class. And I'm middle class, so maybe this is a little selfish of me, but to upgrade from what we've always had to, maybe something a little bit better, but not astronomical and not out of our price ranges, but we don't want to go down to townhomes. And so we just got to keep this in mind, how we're impacting the middle class, because the middle class is really paying for everything.
It's great. That's a great comment. So having a healthy impact fee fund actually helps development. And we have some developers here and I think they could back me up on this. But if I'm a developer and I want to invest in a property and build a bunch of single family homes, I have to bring a 12-inch water line and maybe a 12-inch sewer line out to that home. If I know that impact fees are being collected that can reimburse me for that, I'm much more likely to build that line than if I know the city's way behind on their impact fees and they don't have the funds to reimburse me and I might never get reimbursed for it. So yeah.
I think what Chris is really accurate. It just might make it so we just couldn't afford to even build all the lines. This wouldn't make sense. Sell the homes for enough money to pay for the whole infrastructure. So they help.
Okay.
A healthy impact fee actually becomes a funding mechanism for developers being willing to invest in land and doing the better developments that I think a lot of people want in their communities. I used to be in the leadership of public works in Utah County, and I used to give out an award, well, 3 awards. I gave the Lead Pipe Award, the Star Award, and then the Chrome Pipe Award. And one thing that we noticed in public works, in the leadership of public works in Utah, is that there were some cities that always had the lowest rates in the whole city. But because of that, all of their infrastructure just deteriorated until it was useless. And then you would watch these cities. I'd watch these cities, and Payson's not one of them, as far as I know. But I'd watch these cities, and the infrastructure would all fail at once. And so they do a huge bond to replace all the water lines or all the sewer lines in their city. And the rates would go up double in their cities. And all the elected officials would be voted out of office, and then you'd get a whole new ones that hated staff, and the staff had to live with that for a long time. And I just watched this in several cities in Utah. And so in order to kind of combat that, what I would do is I'd give the Lead Pipe Award to the city that had the lowest rates in Utah, and I gave the Chrome Pipe to the one that just had the highest rates, and then the Star Award went to the ones that were most closest to the median. And what I noticed is the ones that were closest to median were replacing their old water lines, were replacing their old valves, their old sewer lines, and staying up on that, so that the rates were just consistent, just kind of going up with inflation, and they seem to have a much happier general public. And then I always noticed that you might be the Lead Pipe 1 year award, and then the next year you were the Chrome Pipe, because you had to replace all of your water lines all at once because they all just went bad. And so I think something that Councilman Rowley said is really important, and that is just make it right and have it go up in a fair and even manner. That is when you're running your city well, I feel like. So.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
I just want to add to, as we looked at these rates, it is important that growth pays for growth, but we just want to make sure we're doing it fair and balanced way. And we don't want to get behind, so we don't have these huge, but
We don't want cheap stuff either.
but we don't,
No, we don't.
we just don't, I just want to caution, I don't want Payson City to get in the habit of just raising it every year just to raise it. That makes sense too. But I know the data's there. I've looked over it, but yeah. So on these motions, asking for a friend, do I need to do them each separately or? Oh, what?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I'll do the first one. You
Okay.
guys can fight over the.
We have a motion. Is there
Mayor, I make a motion that, which one do I need to do first? The update, the
number 2.
number 2?
Number
You
2.
start with number 2? Okay. Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt the Payson City Drinking Water Impact Fee Facilities Plan and the Drinking Water Impact Fee Analysis and enacting drinking water impact fees.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to number 3, ordinance. Adopting the Payson City Pressurized Irrigation Water Impact Fee Facilities Plan and Pressurized Irrigation Impact Fee Analysis and enacting pressurized irrigation fees. Unless there's discussion on that item, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll take this one.
Okay,
Mayor, I motion that we approve adopting the Payson City Pressurized Irrigation Water Impact Fee Facilities Plan and the Pressurized Irrigation Impact Fee Analysis and enacting pressurized irrigation fees.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Smith,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Going on to number 4, ordinance adopting the wastewater impact fee facilities plan and the wastewater impact fee analysis and enacting wastewater impact fees.
Mayor, I move that we adopt the wastewater impact fees facility plan and the wastewater impact fee analysis and enacting the wastewater impact fees.
Is
I
there a
will
second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote, starting with Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for answering all our questions.
Okay, moving on to number 5, resolution authorizing the mayor and to execute a development agreement for the Sunset Ranch subdivision with White Horse Land LLC. Michael?
Are we not gonna switch
We-
the order, Mayor?
Yeah, the ordinance has
Well,
to go.
we'll go through then we'll go on to number 5 first as we approve.
Read in number 6 too.
I'll read number 6. Okay, I'll do number 6. Ordinance amending the Payson City's zoning map and changing the zoning designated of parcels 30,065,0073 and 45,197,0004 Sunset Ranch.
And Mayor, if I may add, there is a portion of another parcel. I've got it written down. I'll show it to you, and it is in the presentation.
Okay,
If you want to read that.
or read it into the record. Or which one? Okay. And this would be number 30,064,0022.
Correct.
Okay.
So I think most of you are aware of the Sunset Ranch area, and we had this discussion with the applicants back in December. This item was tabled, and so they're coming back with a proposal. They've worked with staff, and we've both come to something that we feel that we can both support. So to give you a little more perspective on it, I will give you an aerial view again of it. So the Sunset Ranch area is in that red hashed area. The applicant original request by staff was to have this zoned R110. Planning Commission agreed with that. After those discussions with staff and the city attorney, they're coming with this proposal. So they're requesting to do an R19 zoning designation, and it would be for the entire property, but it would also have a development agreement with it, and that's what item number 5 is. The development agreement would ensure that the infrastructure is done and it's done properly, that it has all of those needs met that the city has. But secondarily, the applicant would be allowed to do up to 30% of their lots 6,500 square feet or larger, and then 70% or greater would be 9,000 square feet. They have given us a concept layout, and they've broken that down for you, and I will share that with you. So this is the area that we're talking about. When I originally drafted the staff report, I shared it with the applicant, and they told me that we needed to include this portion at the very bottom there that you can see just touches that just below that yellow line there. That's that other parcel that the mayor just read. And so we'll have to make sure to have the proper legal descriptions and such for that, but we can take care of that as staff. So this is the layout they're showing for that area. All of the light colored yellow lots are all 9,000 square feet or larger. And then the darker yellow ones are the 6,500 square feet and up. So 6,500 is the minimum. The development agreement would also allow for them to have that reduced frontage of 65 feet on each of those lots too.
On the smaller lots?
On the smaller lots, yes.
So it looks like they're more of the 9,000.
Correct. Yeah, the agreement penciled out that 70% would be the 9,000 or greater.
What's the frontage on the bigger lots?
That would just follow the R19 zone, which is 90 feet.
90 feet, and the smaller ones would be 65 feet.
65 minimum. I mean, depending on where they are, they might be bigger, but. So to give you some perspective of some of the housing product they're proposing, I've just put several of these in here. You can see the little asterisk at the top. These ones are showing 3-car models. Majority of these have a 2-car garage model as well. So in conclusion, staff and the applicant felt as if this was a reasonable request. So staff, all of the city departments, as you would have probably seen in your staff reports, are supportive of this. And so I just leave it to you if you want to have discussion or you want to ask the applicants any questions.
Any discussion, council?
I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
Can you go back to the map showing all the different lots and their hopes and dreams? I like a lot of the floor plans you guys are doing. Looks really good. Good design. I'm not very good at math, but I counted the lots and yeah, the total. Oh, this one's even different than the one that was in our packet.
Yes, I
that one
noticed
was
that
51.
after. Yes.
Okay.
I
Never
noticed
mind,
that
this is
after the
fixed.
staff report was sent out and I was making this presentation. And so this presentation is accurate. The total
Okay.
number of lots for 9,000 and 6,500 are accurate, but the number up above said 51.
Right. So I was just
So
wondering where the
it's
missing
49.
lots were, but you fixed it.
Yes.
Okay. You found the lots. Very good. Okay.
Well, we lost the lots.
Yeah, you lost them actually. Yeah.
Well, on my part, I think it's nice to see the bigger lots as well. So
I guess, yeah, this section really close to I-15. So if you just look at it, the density makes sense. And this even seems a little more dense than you would think being that close to I-15. But our choke point still is the frontage road of 1700 West and the freeway by Wendy's, the freeway exit and ramp by Wendy's. And yeah, it's already a failure rate for sure. This is where I have a little bit of heartburn too about our code because right, we would zone it R19 and that should mean 9,000 square foot lots, but it doesn't. It means some other as well because of the development agreement. Is that just because of the development agreement, or is that because of the net versus gross density that we can do?
No,
less?
that's because of the development agreement. It was with the applicant and staff, we talked about it. The applicant still wants to meet a certain price point, I'm assuming, and that's part of the reasoning. But also it comes into play, as you can see, they have some odd shapes to work with here. And even that road kind of contours a bit there because of the way they have to do things. And so they wanted to have some flexibility in lot size, and that was part of it as well.
Yeah, so why does that road have to make the little jog after the existing house that's there?
I'll let the applicant speak to that because I'm not sure.
Oh, brainer. Hey, yeah, thanks for letting us come back and present again. Your question is just why do we have that alignment for the roads?
Yeah.
Why is it curved?
The honest answer is somewhere along the line, this is actually, I think, our eighth concept plan.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere along the line, it made sense to move it like that based on the layout. And if it's a big deal,
And it's just stayed like that ever since.
and
Yeah.
we can,
Yep.
if it's important to move it, we can look at changing it. But I think it just had to do with the width of the lots. We were held to a certain, width, and so it just made sense to move that so we could fit the lots in better. So
One other thing, and there is a spacing requirement for intersections out on 1950. So with it curving down, it gives those two intersections, coming out onto 1950, enough separation between those two intersections that it wouldn't cause a problem.
So he's talking, if you can see my cursor, here's the one. And then,
Oh, yeah.
and then if it'll get up there, right there.
Oh.
And I know this is planning for the future too, because we've got some other land back behind that you guys own as well.
And honestly, I don't know all the reasons why, and that's probably one of them. There is a certain spacing you have to have between intersections, so that might have been why our architect drew it that way.
Between intersections going onto a main larger road and more potentially busier road.
Yeah, 1950 is definitely
Maybe
a
a
large
main
That's gonna
road.
be a larger road. That'd be a
It's-
collector road.
The cross section's, I think, around 100 feet wide, so
Yeah.
it's pretty big.
But like I say, I am gratified to see the bigger lots. There's a lot of pressure that we're facing for smaller lots, that 5,000, 4,500 square feet. So I'm very, very thankful to see the bigger lots.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, a couple of the reasons we think this would be a great project, probably the biggest one, just if I were to put myself in the city's shoes, is that 1950 road right now is really a dead end. We did build like an emergency access, but if we're allowed to go forward with this development, it'll be like a paved, fully improved road that'll, kind of make the area a little bit safer, in my opinion, and easier for emergency vehicles to get in and out of. We're also going to, if we get approved, build all the infrastructure, all the utilities, bring them down to this area of the city. And then just to some of the discussion earlier, this is all single family houses. There's no townhomes here. And so we are building townhomes north of here.
Like right next to North? Like,
No, there's a few 100 feet separation between the projects.
It was done. We approved it. Um, uh, what are some of the square footage for the houses that you're hoping to put on some of these lots? If you could just show some of those pictures, just rattle off to the best of your knowledge of.
square footage, bedrooms, bedroom numbers.
Yeah, I'd say generally speaking, probably 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Does that sound right, Nate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some under 2,000. There's
A few
quite a
under.
range. I mean, we have some, 1,600 square feet, yeah, up to 3,000. And there's a lot of like people can choose how many bedrooms. We will do, put another wall in if they want another bedroom, leave it open for a loft. It's a lot. The home buyer will ultimately choose, but all of them are for sure 2 bedroom or more than that. So.
Some of them, I'm pleased with the designs that you've come up with of the elevation pictures. I'd like to see more homes that have more windows on the front and not all garage. Like some of them have just garages and a front door and no windows on that main level. I don't think that's very attractive, but that might just be my personal opinion. But for the most part, like the regular Ramblers, those had windows. Windows are a good thing. Being able to see outside the front of your house is a good thing.
And we for sure had a sit down with the team the architect side and talked about your comments last time, and at least this was my interpretation of kind of getting rid of some of the contemporary stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
Can I ask a question? Or
Yeah.
say something? Well, a few things. I went through and I listed my pros, my cons, my concerns. I think that it's great to see single family. Yards, I think it's great to put the trails in. Cons, obviously, traffic. When I look at this, and I actually looked on the county records because I wanted to make sure I wasn't saying the wrong thing. My very first home was 0.14, which is under 6,500.
Yeah, small.
But it was east-west rectangle, not north-south. So it was wide, not skinny, long
you
and
had
skinny.
more frontage than depth to the road. Is that what?
And depth to the backyard.
Yeah, yeah. And so it felt bigger than what I see these skinny lots. That's my big thing about a lot of the new developments and it could just be my personal preference, but I like to have a backyard, a front yard. I also see 1,600 square feet. People are going to grow out of those incredibly fast. I mean, your condos aren't much smaller than that, I think you guys build amazing homes, amazing products. I do. I really do. My hiccups are I really feel like the skinny, long lots are to get more homes in. I would rather see the opposite if you're going to give a single family, give them a little bit of yard, like more yard, because it is more usable. My other concern, and this is just going by the law, I know that in life there's exceptions made. I feel that if we make this exception on the zoning, in the agreement, the next developer is going to ask the exact same exception. And then when we say no, it's favoritism. We gave it to them, why not us? And so that's my biggest concern about it. Honestly, it just comes down to the law states this. This is what, I mean, that's even smaller than what was recommended, you know. Again, probably 95% of everything I see, I really like. I love the look of the homes. I love the opportunity that it is a single family home. I'm curious what the price points are, you know, because I do know that like versus your development north to us is a lot cheaper. And I think that's great. But that's my biggest hiccup is that I feel like if we give you the exception, we're going to just keep getting that ask from people. But that's just my
'Cause
opinion.
I feel like we get it a lot. Payson will change their zoning because if we ask them every single time. But what are the prices? Yeah, do you know?
Yeah. Is so for the price points, kind of
Can
the way
can
that
we go back through like the elevation pictures of the homes, just kind of?
I mean, I'm sure you don't know exactly, but you know,
yeah,
rain.
Yeah.
it's and by the time we build this, what I say right now will not be true. So that, you know,
But I know a baseline pretty much.
the way that kind of our business model works is these like what you're looking at right here, this is not what we would this is not our base plan that we would offer somebody, right? We'll say, okay, here's this new development. We have lots for sale. Here's the base price of the home. And just like, you know, it's standard, the base price doesn't have a third car garage, doesn't have like a loft or some of these other things that increase the square footage. And so just depending on so to try to answer, you know, I think the base price for like these houses that we're looking at is probably 600,000 around there. And then it's very, very often that people just of their own free will add about $100,000 of, I want a third car garage, I want a loft, I want to make, you know, so just depending on which number you care about, the base price or what they actually end up selling for. Just and some people don't do a lot of upgrades. They just pay the base price.
Well, they can't afford it.
They're happy with
Yeah.
that.
Is there enough square footage on those 6,500s to put a third car with the easement?
Yeah, it depends on which one of the houses, which one of the widths. Like this one on the left is probably a pretty good example. That house is probably only
That's the one I don't like. We have too
30
many of
feet
those.
wide.
That's not original at all. That's like every other neighborhood that's going up. That's my
Yeah.
least favorite one. Because they
And
just
I'm
all
just
look
pointing
like
to
that.
that one to say, you know, that one's so skinny, you know, you probably could add a third car garage and still foot it in a 65, a lot that's 65 feet wide with side setbacks, just because the house itself is so narrow. Some of those bigger ones you wouldn't work.
Michael, pursuant to Lacey's comments about setting us up for the other developers to come in and try the same thing, where are we looking there?
That's always a possibility. Fortunately, with a development agreement, they're mutual, meaning that both parties have to agree to it.
So we're not.
You're
putting
not
ourselves in
setting a
corner.
precedent by having a development agreement with one entity and not another.
Okay.
And then additionally to that, we are trying to create a revision to our zoning ordinance that would incentivize builders to do more design and more additional things, maybe provide more amenities, that sort of thing. And maybe the trade-off is they would get some more density. And if that is successful the way we're hoping, then we would hope that development agreements would be less
Good way to
often.
go. I think if we can get 95% of what we want, I think it's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, and I definitely understand the concern about maybe some of the lots being smaller. I mean, they are smaller, but I really can tell you there will be a lot of people that will be extremely happy to be able to buy a single family home that's on a smaller lot because those will sell for less. So
Oh, yeah,
it just
but
lets us offer.
not a ton less. Like it's.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're talking to two real estate.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like so not
People.
a ton less. Like I
Yeah.
mean, but I again, this is just coming from me when I my very first home was actually, like I said, a smaller lot. And it was more usable than what I see these skinny lots. And that's my thing. If it were me personally, I think it shows more to I get you're in the business. I totally get it. But to lose a lot or so to make it to where there's just not these skinny, like to rearrange it to where it's just, but that's just my, again, as someone that's lived in that. And I thought that was a great yard space. And that's the crazy thing because a lot of people say, oh, that's so tiny. But when I lived in it, but it was also a 1971 home, right? And it was 900 square feet, like the home. That's a starter home to me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's just, again, my biggest hiccup is, and I get I get what planning's saying, I get what the mayor's saying. It's an R19 for a reason. And so that's my biggest
It's
hiccup.
actually R110.
Well, but they were requesting R19. And so that's it.
So Tyler, I'll tell you where I'm at right now. I'm not going to speak to what the design elements, because what one person might think is ugly, they might think is gorgeous, to see that all the time, every day at work. But for me, for the density, can we go back to the map really quick, Michael? Again, for the density that Payson City has previously approved to the north of this property, the choke points on 1700 west and 800 south. To me, having that many, and I know it's not even that many, but that many 6,500 square foot lots, I do think it makes some of them, especially on that curved road, just way too skinny. And how wide is the road planned to be? Do we know the width of the roads?
Yeah, it's just a local road, so the standard cross section is 60 feet.
Okay, 60 feet of asphalt or 60 feet of with curb and gutter and
it's
sidewalk?
58.
50 feet of,
And that's
58.
from sidewalk to sidewalk.
Okay. Okay.
So there will be sidewalks on both sides of the street.
No, on the north side of that road that you're talking about, it's actually going to be a trail, a 10-foot trail. So it's
So it's kind of like a place
bigger than a
Bigger than a
sidewalk.
sidewalk.
That's fine. Okay, that was a
Okay.
good question to ask. I guess for me, planning commission, their recommendation was to keep it as is, as well, what it used to be, and I do respect their opinion. But if you look at a 6,500 square foot lot, it's 0.14, and even a 9,000 square foot lot's 0.20, and 0.20 is, it's getting bigger, but it's still pretty small. I know we need to shrink the lot sizes both for water and for affordability, because Utah is extremely unaffordable right now. But the 6,500 lots for me are just too small. And doing the math, if we go up to 7,500 square foot lots, would be to 0.17. For me, I think this is close, but not quite what we can handle, both traffic wise, for Payson City and for other reasons. And so I'd be okay if we do some 7,500 square foot lots, maybe hopefully that deletes one or two of these, but keeping the majority of them still 9,000. That's where I'm at. But 65 is just a little bit too small for me.
I agree.
And I would caution everybody that we are getting pressure for even smaller ones than that from the state.
Yep.
So that's why I say I'm very glad to see that, the most of them are 9,000. And if you're willing to do the 6,500 a little bit bigger, then I think that's the best, maybe not all of them, but, try to get them bigger. I think that's the best we could expect.
And it's still less than what the plan is calling for. So I do feel like we're still throwing you a bone. I think we're really close, and I appreciate how good you are to work with our staff. But my opinion is we remand this one back to staff and see if we can fix some of those skinnier lots and get. I wouldn't want to see one smaller than 7,500. That's my opinion.
Is that a change?
I'm okay with that
like,
too.
If you can make a motion and have your motion say something like that, if you wanted to.
Well, out of
I'd love to accept that kind of a motion.
Yeah, I mean, it would be something where we don't have to do this whole process again. But if you say that you're not going to approve this concept, you'd rather see the minimum of a 7,500, that would be just something we'd handle with them.
Well, but it's going to change the layout of the lots so much.
I want to see that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I do want to see it. Brandon, please. Please.
Brandon has raised his hand. He wants to be called on.
So my take on it was back when we were back in December, we were R110 and they wanted 6,500. And after tabling it, the big, I think the two biggest takeaways that we had from that meeting is we wanted the bigger lots and the product type. And
Mhm.
so when we met after that meeting, I think they, Whitehorse took that into consideration. And that's why they were so good to work with to get to a majority 9,000 square feet. And so I thought it was a good compromise between the two sides that they took that to heart. We're not getting the R110, but they're not getting the 6,500 on all of them. And so that's why it was negotiated the 70%, the bigger ones for the 6,500. And so I think they took to heart what was said last meeting. And in my opinion, it was a great compromise between both sides to get to where we're at today. But
and I don't disagree, Brian. I do. I appreciate really how well Tyler you and your company have been to work with. I really do. Hope you know I'm being genuine about that. You guys really are good to work with, and we're fortunate to have you here in Payson. We want you here in Payson. We want you to build a quality product here in Payson. But yeah, it's just so much different than when you start doing dirt work and these houses are here for 80, 90, 100 years, right? It impacts. This is a big decision. It's a really big decision. It's anything west of the freeways. It's virgin dirt out there, most of it. So it's a big decision on what we do. And so I don't know what the math would play out, but I wonder if we did 7,500 square foot lots, if it would make 13 of those lots and keep the other ones big, right? I don't know the answer to that question. And so
Where did you get the 70-30? Like why wasn't it like maybe like a 80-20 or
Just working with staff.
negotiation.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
started it.
okay. Again, I'm not against the 65 when it's not long and skinny. So that's why I'm just curious. Like, I just don't know if there's another way to draft it up to where maybe you can still have this many homes. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect. But I just know visually, and then it still gives everything. It gives the smaller lots. It gives people that yard space. I mean, you could throw a rambler on those 60 again, like that's what I was at in. And I know that it's doable. You just have to make it work with your land, obviously. And I get that. But I was just curious, like, what an 80-20 looked like or something. But those would be my hiccups. But
And maybe, and again, I don't think this will change anybody's mind, but kind of the reason, at least we settled on a 6,500, at least there's other areas in Payson's code that say 6,500 is kind of the smallest single family lot that we're okay with, that, we vetted, we've gone through our own kind of internal process with Public Works and staff, and we feel good about doing a 6,500 square foot lot. And so we are hopeful that we can build that size lot in other areas of the city. And we felt like if we can build some of them here, again, this is a very limited approval to build some lots that look like that. Once you guys see what they look like, it'll make you more comfortable with seeing, and maybe you already know. I mean, if you're agents, you probably can picture that.
I think a rambler on a 6,500 again, that way, then it's skinny little 2-story. That's what I would like to see. But again, I'm fine with the 6,500. It does make it more affordable for people. I mean, again, I know that, but I just like also I don't know. And I know that does like the ramblers because it limits the space for people. But if you can make a 1,300, 1,400 square foot rambler versus a 1,600 foot 2-story, you actually, to me, I feel like you have more space because they're bigger living spaces, because it's not
People will stay in their
800 and 800. And it could also potentially give people the opportunity to build a bigger master or something on the back, down the road, because they have that backyard to do so. I don't know. Again, I guess I'm back and forth on it, but
I just caution the city council. Sometimes you don't get to see what I see as far as the pressure the state's putting on and the affordability. There is quite a bit of pressure to go to 4,500 and 5,000 square feet. I think this is one where they're not getting everything they want, and we're not getting everything that we want, but I think it's a really good compromise. I know I don't get to vote on it, but that's where I'm at.
Tyler, I really appreciate your patience, and we're just a city council that wants to get things right the first time, so it's not awful for decades to come, because we live with those kind of neighborhoods right now. Once things are built, they're never demolished, and they're there for the duration. So we're trying to do what's right for the people that want to come to Payson, that we want to come to Payson as well. And out of curiosity, as a mom, a wife, and a mother, who has a design background as well, actually, sometimes we see homes, and maybe Lacey and Ryan see this too. Sometimes homes, you go into a home and it's designed terribly, and it was designed by an architect. So I'm wondering, and sometimes as a wife and a mother, you wonder, did anyone ask a wife and a mom how they wanted some of these floor plans designed? So just out of curiosity, how many on that architect team were mothers?
I can't speak to like third party people, right, that we hire to do most of it, but internally, our sales broker who manages all of our sales is a wife and a mom, but
but I mean the design people. You might not know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about
I think we're getting to some areas that we don't have a whole hell of a lot of.
Well, no, I'm curious. I think it's an important thing to think about as a developer. But I'm in agreement with Lacey on the width of the lots, and I'm in agreement with Ryan on the size of the lots. Actually, I think, and with the state, we're doing a lot in this city to accommodate townhomes and apartments and stuff. So this, I feel like we can pick what we want in this section. So I like the 7,500. If somebody wants to make a motion, I don't know.
And two, this is the reason we scrutinize this so very much. This is our last touch point with the subdivision is only during the zone change, and then it's all staff from here on out. And so I guess for me, I think we're really close. I want to tweak it. I mean, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lots on that road coming in, and those are just, you know, that's just a lot. And some of those are the bigger ones, but I'd even like to see maybe just 9 lots there, and then we adjust some lines a little bit accordingly. But I would just like this to go back to staff just one more time. I think we're really close, and play around with the smaller lot numbers and get them up a little bit, and maybe delete 1 or 2 lots is all.
And I just want you to know that you're not the only one that is coming to us where we're pushing back a little bit. There are a lot of things that are coming at us where we're like, no, we want it done right. Don't come at us giving half effort, or not that you're doing half effort, but not doing the best option. So I just want you to know you're not being singled out. I promise.
Yeah, no worries. So I can just clarify, and then yeah, because your staff is great to work with. They're actually
wonderful.
really are. Really collaborative. So in the development agreement, we just specifically spelled out 6,500 and 65 feet. I think what I'm hearing is if we change that to 7,500 and 75 feet, that's more agreeable. Is that?
It's very agreeable to me as long as it doesn't turn into all 49 lots being 7,500.
Yeah, we would leave the
Does that
70,
make sense? You'd leave the same ratios for us.
Ratio.
Okay, I'd feel comfortable with that if the council does too, and then you can just get moving forward. There'll be a little bit bigger lots, hopefully one or 2 less lots.
Is that something we can handle here and be reassured that that's what would happen?
You can adopt a modified motion. Yeah, you can do that.
And to have the final layout presented to us, so we could say, okay, we're good. I don't want it to be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, we can, if you make that in your motion, we'll have to do it.
I just.
So
I-
Michael, in that case, should we just remand it back to you, or should we let you guys full steam it? Because either way, we do want to see the site plan.
So we're going to have to bring this modified plan back to the mayor anyway. We can share it because we have to have that legal description that shows that, which currently the legal description is just the 2 parcels. So if you wanted to make a motion tonight, I think that would be most advantageous to the applicant.
You got Robert behind you, maybe wants to chime in.
I mean, just depends on, yeah, if we just get on the next agenda.
Okay. Lots of good discussion here tonight. My recommendation would be remand it back to staff so they can go through, see what is exactly possible for this site plan. I anticipate some of those darker yellow ones getting a little bit wider.
Or maybe one of them eliminated altogether.
Perhaps, right.
Just shifting things
And in that case, we would, as staff, work as quickly as possible to bring it back to.
I'd like to see
the
that
council.
come back as quick as possible.
Hopefully next, if you guys can hit the gas and come back next
We would
time
like-
even.
we would
But-
like to see a majority of 9,000.
It has been a little bit of a saga, so I'd like to see.
Right.
For everybody involved.
I'm just going to make one quick comment though to Councilmember Smith's comment. Lot size is a trade-off, right? So the wider it goes, you can fill up that piece of property with a structure, right? But in this case, I envision that if you get a little bit wider, you might lose some backyard space in that element. So I think that's just a trade-off to always remember that longer skinny, you get more back and front, and you get a little bit on this less on the sides. But if we're increasing the size of the lot to 7,500, then that probably negates out. But I appreciate this discussion. I just want to publicly thank the applicant for their patience and the way that they have really gone to bat and worked with our staff so much on this. I've been super impressed at the way this has gone about. Thank you for your comments tonight, and thanks for listening to me really quick.
And I just want to ditto what you just said, because you've been very patient with us, and we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we really honestly feel like as soon as we can start building some single family houses, I think we'll get a good relationship. And
I do too. And I do want to acknowledge, thank you for playing nice with us, and I hope we're playing nice with you. But we're still throwing a bone, right? Even if you still get 13 smaller lots than what's zoned, that's still definitely a win.
Yeah,
I wouldn't discount that at all as far as that goes.
And what we're looking for and what we're guiding you towards will only make your product look better as well. So that is making us a collaborative team, I think. So
Okay, I think we've got to the point where what kind of motion do we want to entertain? What are we going to do?
Well, we'll need to modify.
Do we want to just
we'll
remand
need
it
to
back?
remand both back to staff.
Mhm.
Yep. So Mayor, I make a motion that we remand back to staff the authorization of the mayor to execute the development agreement for the Sunset Ranch subdivision and White Horse Land LLC, and also remand back to staff the amending of the Payson City zoning map and changing of the zoning designation for the parcels listed, including the additional parcel that the mayor read in, or so-called the Sunset Ranch development. We remand that back to staff with the intent that no lot will be smaller than 7,500 square feet, and that the ratios will stay about the same as they are tonight.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion been seconded. This roll call vote starting with Council Smith,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that would mean we're going to F, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and go into a work session, transportation utility fees.
Mayor and council, appreciate your time this evening. We talked a little bit at our retreat that we had, but we had LRB do our transportation utility fee study prior to the new year, and we talked a little bit about it down at the retreat that we had. But we thought we'd have Fred come and at least explain what the study is and what it is. I understand there's some concern about doing this, but it's a work session just to talk through it. You can ask any questions about the study. The study has been completed. And then there's no decision that'll be made tonight, but we wanted to get that to the council. Fred, do you want to take over? Thanks for being here.
All right. Let's see if I can. There. That's. Okay. Thank you for having me tonight. Yeah, I'll go through some of the changes that have happened relative to the statute and talk about the methodology we utilize, what we typically do with a transportation utility fee or TUF. And then if you have questions and, obviously we haven't adopted anything or finalized anything, so I'm happy to take input on any direction you'd like to see or additional scenario analysis, or if it's dead on arrival, that's also up to you, right? Okay. So a transportation utility fee. This is different than other fees that you've talked about tonight, like impact fees. This is an ongoing fee that's used to help fund construction and maintenance of your road system. It operates like a utility, so you assess a fee and account for it accordingly. Which is different than impact fees, which are one-time assessments on new development activity. This is a fee assessed to all property owners and users of the system.
And two, with impact fees, and Travis, you can speak to this, we can't use an impact fee from a brand new development to fix up something
correct.
Over here on Broken Utah Avenue, correct? Yeah.
Yep. Yes, and with impact fees, it's growth-related system improvements defined by statute. While projects may have both components, a repair and replacement component of the project, impact fees can only be used on growth-related level of service issues. Whereas a transportation utility fee operates like a utility that is revenue generated for the benefit of the system in its entirety. So that can be growth-related, repair and replacement, operation of the system. It operates like those other utilities. The benefit of that is it creates a tool that promotes equity because you're assessing a fee based on a measure of demand within the system. It also promotes transparency because that fee is dedicated to the service that is provided. If you look at other revenues, for example, or expenses in the general fund, those revenues come into a large bucket essentially or fund. And then you fund a lot of services out of that general fund. So your sales tax come in, it can be used for a lot of different elements. Whereas transportation utility fee is specific to that system. It's collected for that system and can only be spent on that. It also creates a level of sustainability in that you measure that over time and ensure that there's a nexus between revenues collected and the expenses for that system. And the recently adjustments to legislation, that there are measures in place to help address these issues of equity, transparency, and sustainability. So the basis for the fee is, again, you charge your users of the system based on a defined demand variable. In this case, and in most transportation utility fees, we're looking at trip generation statistics by land use type.
Now that can be challenging. You don't actually measure trips. There isn't a counter like a water meter on people's driveways that measures the traffic that comes in and out of that. So we do need to make some assumptions. Those assumptions are based on the land use of your community and the what's called the Institute of Traffic Engineers Trip Generation Manual, where there's surveys of different land uses in their trip generation. Alrighty, so transportation utility fees are not new. Back in 2018, I actually worked on the fee study that Pleasant Grove completed. There were other communities that were looking at transportation utility fees. That study was challenged, and it went through several steps here. There was a challenge, then an appeal, and then it went to Utah Supreme Court. Ultimately, it was there were factors that needed to be improved, but ultimately the fee was justified. And so that's when the legislature stepped in and said, hey, we need to maybe put some guardrails on this, and how do we want to see transportation utility fees governed and managed. And in this recent legislative session, a bill is passed to help define what that looks like. We had looked at several bills that had been reviewed in the past, which weren't passed. And we considered that in our evaluation. There may be some things that, you know, if you choose to move forward with a fee, that you would maybe need to consider as you move forward.
I have a question.
Yes.
Who sponsored HB 425?
I'd have to look that up. Yeah. I don't know off the head. Yeah. So there are, as part of that bill, some requirements relative to determining the fee. That includes determining your need. You also need to identify your existing funding resources and ensure that those are accounted for. The objective here is to identify a deficiency. So saying, okay, here's what we are generating with all of our revenue resources. Here's our need, and measure the gap. And then the transportation utility fee can be used to mitigate that funding gap. So what we need to ensure is that we're not supplanting existing revenue resources with a transportation utility fee, but using it strategically to mitigate that funding gap. The study needs to show that relationship, essentially establish a nexus, which is common in fee studies. So again, in the discussion that you had relative to impact fees, the whole basis of that study is establishing a nexus between growth and need. For the transportation utility fee, it's that gap, that funding gap in all your resources, and establishing that demand and the relationship between the fee and that demand and those costs. We also need to ensure that there are different fees for different users on the system. One of the challenges to the 2018 Pleasant Grove analysis was the argument that this was a tax. And the difference between that is, again, a fee establishes that demand and different users on the system and applies the fee accordingly, whereas a tax is generally applied across all your users regardless of demand. So we need to make sure in this study that is considered, and the statute addresses that. We also have to look at, again, applying a methodology that makes sense relative to this utility fee. And as I've mentioned, that typically centers on trip generation statistics or traffic counts. May consider vehicle types. Yes.
So you're saying we can change the rate based on vehicle type?
Yeah, so you can look at, so for example, you may look at heavy type vehicles that specific land uses might produce and apply an adjustment factor based on that. Any sort of adjustment.
Like gravel trucks?
What's that?
Like gravel trucks? What about this? And I hate to always bash on these poor folks, but what about the electric car drivers that don't pay gas tax? Can we target them?
No, so there are other elements within the statute that address applying a disproportionate fee based on the consideration of paying or not paying other revenue sources. So you can't look at saying, hey, we're gonna push up the fee here for this user class because they don't pay sales tax or they don't pay other taxes. We can't do that.
Okay.
But we can consider vehicle types or weight, vehicle miles traveled, for example,
or additional ratios beyond just trip generation. The challenge is having sufficient data to actually do that. So we can't, we don't want to make something up, right? As long as we can look at assumptions, validate those, and apply those equitably across the users within the system, then there's a way to do that.
I guess one other question I have for you, it'd be hard to target heavy vehicles because, correct, this fee would be imposed to Payson City residents. And so
Yes.
really they would be the only ones paying it. And
Well, it's all residents and businesses within your community. So all property
businesses
within,
as well.
yes,
Okay.
all property within.
Because most of those big heavy trucks are not because of the homeowners, it's because
Yes.
of a related business. So,
Yeah,
okay.
the fee would be intended, just like a water bill or a sewer bill, it's to all customers that use the system. What you can't do is charge residents outside of your boundary, and unless there's some sort of agreement in place, which I've seen on like water systems or sewer systems. But yeah, you can charge it across all customers within your boundary. There's other things that we need to make sure we're not including in the analysis, so we don't look at necessarily ownership of property or fair market value of property or taxable value versus assessed value. Again, this is not a tax from that perspective. We need to make sure that we're tying the analysis to our assumptions relative to demand by land use and then apply the fee accordingly. So the key to all of this is that nexus between demand and the fee assessment and ensuring that there's a connection defined in the statute or in the study based on the data that we have. We've talked about this. Make sure that we apply different classifications of users. We need to at least include residential, commercial, and other categories to show that we're applying the fee based on demand. And the classification of those users, again, has to be based on a reasonable methodology that considers the data that we've discussed on those previous slides. So when we're talking about reasonable basis or that nexus, again, HB 425 defines again guardrails that we need to think about. So we can't apply a variable based on inside or outside city boundaries. So some entities will say, hey, if you're outside city boundaries, we're going to charge you 1.5 times or 2 times the rate. We can't do that because that would be, that wouldn't be tied to the actual demand variables. Age of development, for example, that wouldn't apply. This one is specific here, the tax exemption status. Going back to whether you pay property tax or not, or other taxes, we can't really look at that and say, hey, we're going to apply an increase now based on some of those factors. Because again, the idea behind that is that creates disproportionality, right? If we evaluate demand and then apply that across our classification user classes, and then try to manipulate that, then it shifts to disproportionate evaluation rather than equity within that system. There's some noticing requirements that were identified in this House bill that you'd have to look at. And then one of the elements is keeping it separate from the budgeting process. We just don't want to make sure that it's buried in the public hearing associated with your budget, but to keep it separate so that there's an evaluation of that. This is highlighting the anti-supplanting rule again, the idea that we need to look at your existing revenue resources and ensure that the TUF is accounting for that and looking at the gap analysis for determining the ultimate fee. I don't need to go through this, and I'll provide this presentation so you'll have all of this information. I think we're good here. So here there are accounting procedures that could be associated with this. The adoption of a transportation utility fee, which would be related to accounting for your fund balances over time, and reporting on those, and making sure you're updating the studies and submitting that to the state auditor, similar to impact fees. So there's specific requirements related to impact fees that you have to comply with as as a municipality. Other interesting elements here, essentially sunsetting on transportation utility fees, so that it ensures that, again, you go back and update those studies. The intent here is to ensure that the evaluation and the application of that fee doesn't get stale, so that if you continue beyond the 10-year horizon, that you have justification to do that. And that goes to the nature of what's included in these studies. You have one-time expenses, capital improvements that can be funded by transportation utility fees, as well as operational elements. And so ensuring that that nexus exists into the future is part of the recommendations that were presented to this.
When you establish the TUF, is that fee stay the same for 10 years? Is it in 10-year increments?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's you can, again, justify a transportation utility fee based on the analysis and data and modify that over time. But it's just there's a sunset, an expiration of that within 10 years, unless you continue to do that evaluation and
you're
go
starting
through the
that
process.
clock over.
Yes,
okay.
and start that process. Alrighty, so getting into your specific analysis. So whenever we go through these studies, it is really driven by the data that is available and how we apply that information. And primary data that we utilize is all of your parcel data and land use information and aggregate that across the city. We also have to use building square footage. A lot of the trip statistics in the engineering manual are based on per 1,000 square feet information or based on residential units. So we have to gather that information, and we're limited to what your county assessor's database looks like relative to that information. In addition, a lot of your exempt properties, there isn't data associated with that, so we had to work with staff to get some of that information. We also utilize existing billing databases to see to use that as a check against the other data sets that we have. I just highlight that because it highlights some of the challenges relative to a new utility like this. And as a council, you should recognize that there will be, if you move forward with the transportation utility fee, there's likely going to be some adjustments made over time as you look at customer assessment and make corrections to that data set. You'll have to have some flexibility there as you move forward to make sure that all of that gets buttoned up over time. We looked at the existing funding sources as it relates to Class C road funds, your other transportation funds, and there's a dedication to sales tax revenues. So we accounted for that when determining revenue generation. We didn't include any property tax allocation from the general fund, so we're isolating it to those transportation funds. We're also not including any appropriation of general fund balance to offset costs. We've separated the transportation funds and the expense, and that's the basis for the model. This gives you an idea of what that looks like from your 2026 budget, from those funding buckets. There is an appropriation of fund balance in your 2026 budget, but we did not perpetuate that moving forward. So just saying, okay, what does it look like if we assume we need to use the TUF to fund all of our unfunded needs? So here's a look at what the 2026 expenses were for, or projected in your budget for transportation related elements. So here, primarily driven by repair and maintenance of the system and your capital projects. So new infrastructure or repair and replacement infrastructure that exceeds that general repair and maintenance bucket. So we also got future capital projects that would be necessary as it relates to the transportation system, and looked at timing of those and trying to isolate that within a 5-year planning window, saying, okay, if we look at a transportation utility pro forma over the next 5 years, what projects would fall within that window so we could get an estimate of cost. There is no requirement that we have to keep it in that 5-year window or look at the 10-year window. But typically when we look at any sort of rate study, when you start getting beyond 5 years, that crystal ball is so murky that it's difficult to rely on that. But we want to have a multi-year pro forma that at least allows us to plan for the future. So we look somewhere around that 5-year window when developing these pro formas. Alrighty, so here's an estimate of cost that was included relative to those projects that we had listed. So you can see we're around $3.7 million on average for the next 4 years, plus a little under $2 million in that fifth year, and estimated capital costs. So we brought that into the pro forma and looked at, okay, how might we measure that need relative to your base here. So in order to do that, we had to look at your user classifications, again, breaking it out in those buckets relative to residential, commercial, and other categories. What do our users look like? So the majority of your users are obviously residential, and then applying a trip statistic to those. So you can see while our residential customer base is 93% of your customer count, when you look at trip generation, there's a flip there because there's just substantially more trips for commercial categories based on the square footage. So while that's an estimate of users within the system, using your existing utility billing database, when you look at building square footage and trip statistics, that flips, which is typical when we do transportation utility fees. Your commercial categories have quite a bit more in trip generation statistics there. I'll also point out, I don't think this has changed. Have you looked at a transportation impact fee? Are you going through that process yet?
They are doing a study on that.
Okay, so when we were doing this study, we talked about a transportation impact fee. That would be something that you would consider in this. So what we're showing you does not include transportation impact fee revenues. If you adopted that fee, the benefit of that is that establishes a nexus similar to the other fees you discussed between cost and demand, but that would generate revenue that we would need to account for, which would offset some of the costs potentially identified in this document. So using appropriate tools and levers can be beneficial to help offset some of these costs here. I will say also, I was surprised that you don't have a transportation impact fee. Most communities in Utah do, because it is a valuable tool to help offset those growth-related costs. Alrighty, so here again, we looked at some scenarios relative to sustainability, assuming, again, what do we generate in revenue? What are the new projects we need to fund? Can we do that? And, you know, essentially there isn't a way to fund all of those projects without some other funding mechanism. So we looked at potential scenarios of, okay, if we targeted a certain revenue amount, what would that do to sustainability? Here, if we looked at $1.5 million in revenue generation annually for from a transportation utility fee, it is not sufficient to mitigate those capital costs. Again, we're looking at $3.7 million annually for the next 4 years with $2 million at the tail end. So not enough there to get us over the hump. Although at the end, there may be some sustainability. To put that into context, what that looks like on a per user basis. Typically when we look at comparisons, we'll look at residential development. That would roughly be a fee of slightly over $6 per residential unit per month for the city to be able to generate $1.5 million in revenue. And then on the commercial and other categories, again, based on the trip statistics, those fees are higher. But again, they typically have higher footprints and generate more traffic per unit within the system than a residential unit would. Alrighty, at 1.7 million and some change there, you can see we're starting to break even, but then we have a peak at the end. Whenever I see something like this, I mean, we want to exercise caution because we don't know what's happening in year 6, 7, 8, you know, as it relates to capital improvements. But what's important to consider is, again, based on legislative consideration, the intent for a transportation utility fee is to make adjustments. So you would adopt a fee, generate revenue, but if the revenue begins to exceed the expense, then the transportation utility fee should be adjusted to account for that, or potentially eliminated, where it's say, hey, maybe we don't need this fee, or it's substantially reduced. But it needs to be managed on an annual basis to ensure that you're not disproportionately generating revenue that exceeds the need within this specific enterprise fund. So getting to 1.7, you'd go from, it's about $1 increase. You'd go from the $6.17 to $7.19. That allows you to generate some more revenue there. And then the next is the 2 million. Here you can see that starts to produce a positive fund balance and generates excess fund balance. So in this scenario, we'd have to, again, track that over time and ensure that either the fee is adjusted, or if expenses start to exceed what is projected, then you could account for that as well, and potentially either change the rate at which you increase fees or potentially decrease those. But again, the objective there is to watch that over time. Alrighty, so those are a couple of scenarios. What this produces, again, we're going to about a $2 increase from that first scenario of $6. We're now at $8.22, and that would give us that $2 million generation. Alrighty, so to provide you some comparisons, here are communities that assess a fee. And what we wanted to highlight is, again, based on what our preliminary model suggested relative to those scenarios, we're somewhere between that $6 to slightly over $8 or $8.50, somewhere around there, so kind of a bandwidth. There are communities that fall within that, some low, some high. Highland is the highest at $18.50. But you can see some are higher than the $8 that we would project there, but they're all over the place essentially. And really what that has to do with is, again, matching your needs, specific needs, to the fee generation and ensuring that there's a nexus there. So every community should be different.
So no cities have adopted a TUF since 2018?
Not that, there are entities going through it right now, but at least the list that we have aren't recent adoptions. But Mill Creek is going through the analysis. I'm working with Ogden on their study, and there may be other communities that have adopted fees since then. These are just ones that we've pulled to provide a comparison. Yeah.
I think everybody held off because of the
Yes.
lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the legislative feedback. I mean, there was a desire to see what how the statute would change, and but the last year there have been many entities that have initiated the process and are looking to establish a transportation utility fee fund.
One thing that I think we need to be aware of is that this year the legislature reduced the tax on gas. It was a shell game. That's basically what it is, because they held the cities harmless. But there is a scenario that could be that they do adjust that down and not hold us harmless, and we don't have any money to do with what B&C's is on our population. That's a formula that they use. So I think it would be, well, whether we do this now or do this at some time in the future, we need some way of controlling our ability to take care of our roads.
Yeah.
Independent of the state.
Yes.
And so it's a timely conversation that we need to have.
Yeah, and as a reminder, these scenarios did not consider an impact fee. So if you complete that analysis and adopt an impact fee, then this should be adjusted to account for that, and there could be some changes to those numbers that could bring that down, or there are capital costs that were unidentified at the time. We would need to balance that, but that would be an asterisk here, as we would need to consider that revenue element. I think that's everything. So again, we essentially got to a scenario analysis phase, a draft phase, and then wanted to get before you to get some feedback. And then we're happy to continue the exercise and see what happens relative to the impact fees and this model, but happy to address any additional questions.
Comments, council?
I don't love fees.
I don't love them.
I don't think anybody loves it. I don't
I
love
think
it.
it's taxes in disguise, but hey, can you go back to the previous slide for me that shows all the different cities? You know, Payson, that's one of the things we hear about the most is our quality of roads and the lack thereof. It definitely is. And there's even a great deal of residents that would be willing to pay monthly to have that fixed. I'm not one of them, but I don't represent myself. I'm here to represent the Payson City residents, and so for me, this data is valuable, and I'll have to really do some thinking on it. We're just having a discussion about. We're not adopting anything, obviously, but I just wish we could do more with what we had, and I know the state's going to continue to try to look like the hero and shave back gas tax and other taxes and give tax breaks when they should have just sent us money for infrastructure.
We were lucky this year.
Yes.
They supplemented it.
Yes. Yeah. And so the mayor's right. We don't know what the future holds in that. We do need to capture the money to fix the roads somehow. It's true. But man, with our monthly bills, you add on another $8 a month. That hurts. That adds up. And my other question too, if we pay this money, we'd have to for sure have a plan rolled out to where we're going to actually be fixing the roads.
Yeah.
Because if the residents are seeing results, it's a good thing. But if we're paying this money every month, like some of the other things on our city bill, nothing becomes of it, then it literally was all for nothing.
Yeah. And so to give you kind of my feedback relative to that perspective, it's very valuable. We'll do other financial planning documents relative to the general fund of municipalities. And it's, these types of discussions relative to a specific service can be challenging because, again, it's part of a bigger whole relative to the services that you provide as a community. The benefit of what I see the benefit of these types of studies is, again, the equity and transparency of that. The fee requirement is such that you have to spend it on roads, whereas if you increase property tax, for example, based on a certain perspective, that's unencumbered essentially. It's unrestricted funds that go into the general fund that can be used on anything. It goes to public safety, parks and recreation, roads. The transportation utility fee is specific. It has to be collected based on a specific methodology, and it has to go for roads, and it can't be lost. And going to that idea of accountability, the city would then have to have annual reporting that shows, here's what we collected in revenue and here's where it went. These are the projects that we've spent it on and the roads we've improved and the operations that we've paid for. And that is, from my perspective, the benefit of an enterprise fund is it's very specific in its utilization.
Yeah, and it is, and roads are so important. And Travis done a good job about showing us, our roads, the roads that are aging out, and the ones that need to be replaced or can be saved by overlay or chipping, that kind of thing. But yeah, again, as Payson grows and gets bigger, we can't fall into the trap of just the tunnel vision of oh no, this is a little more expensive. So the only way to fix it is to enact a fee. And just go about it that way. I feel like I just hope we can get creative and see what we can do with the money we already have coming in to update our roads, rather than just, oh, this is a problem. The easy way out is a fee.
Yeah, I think it's great information to have. And I know that to a lot of people, I mean, especially, other communities, they might think that it's not that big of a deal. Just last year when I was running for this seat, it's when the vote came up for the new firehouse and fire station, and it was about a $5 a month is what it broke out. And I heard time and time again, I'm on a fixed income. I know that it doesn't seem like a lot, but $5 is a lot. And Ryan's right, like when you continue to see these fees on your bills, you just, like, I think right now, I don't know if Payson can take one more fee on their bill to, like, it's just constant. But I mean, it's great to have. I know things need to be done. But for me, I mean, I'd want to see more things, but I just know that the feedback I got during my campaign was $5 is $5. And it is what it, that's a lot of people, especially when you're on a
Well, a lot of times
budget.
people want things that they don't want to pay for.
Yes.
And that can't happen. They got to pay for them. The money doesn't just magically
No.
appear.
Well, I followed since Pleasant Grove's thing. Like I followed this exact, and there's not much positivity from residents in many cities about it. That'd be my other hiccup. There really, there just really isn't, and people do see it as a tax. They don't see it as a fee.
They don't care about the definition.
They don't, yeah. And that's just another thing is that people are just, I get that people want things and they don't want to pay for it, but I think it puts a very big negative impact on the city also. Just that you have one. And anyway, that's all. But I appreciate the information because it's really great information. And I think one of the biggest hiccups that people said was like, they didn't feel like the way that they came up with the analyzation was fair. Um, but it's just kind of a guess because you own a 4,000 square foot home and you might have 5 cars, you pay more or something. So
I think it's too much of a mystery. Oh, how many trips? It's not too clear, but on the same wavelength as Ryan saying, we're here to represent the people here. One of the biggest complaints is the roads, but the other biggest complaint is our utility bill. So, I know I'm not willing to impose another fee / tax / anything to our residents right now. I think we need to cut back in other areas if we can first and reevaluate some of the things that we spend our money on currently. But this was great information, but there were still some gaps, not in the gaps in the information, but gaps in the knowledge of okay, how would we judge this information and how do we judge this for this business or this home or whatever. So, but thank you for all your time that you've put into this.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for having me tonight.
And just one last note for me, I never want to disincentivize businesses from coming to Payson as well. And a $200 plus a month transportation fee on top of an impact fee for transportation maybe they've paid. I want to be wary of that as well. But yeah, great information, good data. It's definitely something that I'm afraid it's a bridge we may have to cross and burn in the future, I'm afraid. But we'll continue to watch this closely.
Well, and we're trying to, on your note, we're trying to build our retail businesses up as well. And that's another way we could pay through the general fund. Well, I don't think we'll ever be able to do what we need to do just through general fund.
No.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay.
Mayor, I motion that we adjourn to a closed meeting on March 18th, 2026 at 8:17 p.m. to discuss the purchase, exchange, sell, or lease of real property.
Okay. I have a motion been seconded. Roll call vote starting with Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Smith.
yes.
Okay. We will be in a closed session.